Emil Guillermo. Emil, I'm up to you. Welcome to this program. I know you think, where have you been, Emil? I haven't seen you in a while. I mean, well, you saw me. I did the Instagram things and the Reels things on Facebook, but we haven't been in our gong closet. Here's the gong. The gong that went to New York and back is here now with me in the gong closet. I'm back. We were away for about a month because we were doing a play. We had a short 5-minute role in a play called The Conductor by the noted author Ishmael Reed, as many of you know, because I talk about it all the time. And it's sort of like playing King George in Hamilton. You know, you got a little part that, gets a little, people say, oh, there's that guy. And then that's it. That's it. So it was perfect for me. 5 minutes. It was great. And we're going to have Ishmael Reed to talk about not just the play, but all the other stuff he's doing. Because we're back. We're back in California. We're back here. And so many things going on. First of all, if you want to catch up with what I'm writing, go to the ALDEF blog, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, ALDEF at aldef.org/blog. My latest column is about the new Tagalog teacher at Harvard. They hired a Tagalog teacher for the first time in 400 years. Can you imagine? When I went to Harvard, it was weird to see, it wasn't weird to see a Filipino in a Shakespeare class, but it was weird to see a Filipino like me in a Tagalog class because there were no Tagalog classes. Now, for the first time in 400 years, they have a Tagalog class. And it should be reason to celebrate, right? Not so fast. Apparently, $2 million of the Tagalog, of the funding for the Tagalog classes at the Asian Center was given by a relative of Ferdinand Marcos. It's Marcos money. And what do you think about that? I mean, most of Marcos's money is not like generated like, Emil generates his money by, appearing in an Ishmael Reed play or doing something on the radio or something. Marcos money is the Filipinos' money that he pilfered from the Filipino treasury. That I would have to say that's the bulk of Marcos's money. And I say, oh, well, Emil, he could have made interest on some other things that he had. So it could be clean money. I don't know. But maybe he laundered the money. Then should Harvard accept the $2 million? I get into that in the piece, but I also get into some of the other ancillary aspects of the fact that Harvard has hired a Filipino woman to teach Tagalog for the first time in 400 years. And look, it's a great thing. I think the woman is great. I'm sure she's well qualified. It's about time Harvard has a Tagalog class. It's the fourth most popular language in America. Can you believe that? Harvard claims it's the fourth most popular language in America after Spanish and Chinese, and I'm not sure what the fourth. It's the fourth. Maybe Hindu's up there. But when you put it that way, you say, well, it's about time they taught Tagalog. Anyway, aldef.org/blog. It's another column that I wrote about the Marcoses because when I was in New York, I saw Here Lies Love, the Marcos musical. And I write about that. And I think the theme is the Philippines is nothing were it not for the dictator. We want to hear about the dictator. We want to hear about what the dictator is doing and how he's, getting by, how he's bypassing justice, how he's been restored. Of course, the dictator's still dead. He hasn't figured out a way to come back to life, but his wife is still around, the family money. Anyway, read that on the ALDEF blog, Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, aldef.org/blog. I mean that though. If it weren't for Marcos, would people be interested in the Philippines at all? I mean, Here Lies Love was written by the white punk rocker, Talking Heads guy, David Byrne. It's on Broadway, and it's doing well. I mean, it only cost $22 million, but it's doing well enough. They've got to keep this thing going. I saw it, and I think you go for the theatricality, but not necessarily for the history. If you need the history, fine. You know, everyone needs some Cliff Notes or a classics illustrated on martial law. This is sort of that, but the theatricality. You sort of see my review on the Aldef blog. Okay, so enough about me. Although this is the first show I've done now in the Emil Amok Gong Closet in about a month. But I have a special guest with me, and it's one of the reasons I went to New York to be in his play. Let's please welcome to the Gong Closet the noted playwright, author, novelist, my teacher, Ishmael Reed. Hi, Ishmael.
I'm glad to see you, Emil. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Really, it's a pleasure to see you. And you know, I have to say that after coming back from New York, I was just absolutely, I was just, I was, what is the term? I was exhausted.
Yeah.
I was really tired. We did the play for 4 weeks, good reviews. And thank you again for casting me and writing the part that I play a conservative talk host, which is a kind of stretch, I guess, for me. But
You did a great job.
I thank you for that. But I when we were talking before, you said it's probably your last trip to New York. What do you mean by that?
It's just exhausting.
Yeah.
First, packing and preparing and getting ground transportation and going through security and, the flight and then hotels and then you have to adjust to the pace of New York.
Yeah.
If you are really slack, you get trampled. And it's becoming more crowded.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that certain zones, when I lived there in the 1960s, were just about empty. Mm. And now you got a lot of traffic and a lot of people, and it's just too much. And it's very expensive.
Yeah. Well, I keep wondering, and I mentioned this in a column I wrote for the Oakland Post, when is the conductor going to be staged in the Bay Area, or when is the conductor going to be staged on the West Coast? Is that a possibility?
We have a very difficult time negotiating with the theater community in the West Coast. We were successful with Wajad Ali's Domestic Crusaders, which ran at the Berkeley Rep.
Yeah.
And most of my plays have been done at the Black Repertory Theater, which they're trying to close down. The enemies of the theater are doing some trumped up things, harassment, fire inspections, and it's been there for quite a while, for 40 years. One of the oldest Black theaters in the country, but I think they want to make a way for gentrification of that area, and I think Black Rep is standing in the way. And if anybody wants to read about that, I wrote an article for Alta magazine called "The Tale of Two Theaters," where I compare the Berkeley city's attitude toward the Berkeley Rep, which is rewarded with millions of dollars. And as a matter of fact, they built 2 theaters for them, and now they're building a hotel for the visiting actors because Berkeley rents are too expensive. So they're very generous to the Berkeley Rep, but they won't give Black Repertory Theater $25,000 a year, which they were committed to do. And so it's a real struggle. So we've been having meetings on how to save that theater. So they've done my plays, but other theaters in this area won't do my plays. As a matter of fact, I think Carol Perloff was very honest, the former director of ACT.
Yeah.
She said her subscribers not interested in no Black plays.
Yeah. It's kind of like an East Coast. Could it be an East Coast, West Coast thing? Because, you look at the census figures, you look at the, where the communities are, and the Black community here is diminishing. A lot of people are leaving the Black community, going to the South, going back East.
Except for snatch and grab or whatever that stuff is.
Yeah.
On the media.
Right.
I mean, I know, I know the population has been decimated, but they'll always find some blacks to feature on the media, engage in criminal activity. So I guess a few are left
Yeah.
because the media really goes out of their way to find them.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Except, there are some, well, I just know that when you go to New York, you realize and you understand how much more diverse it is back east because you do see, you see black people and Latino people and Asian, they're,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. And by the way, English is a fourth language in New York.
well, I mean,
They told us that if we learned English, we get over.
yeah.
But now,
Well,
if you walk, we were lodged at the Holiday Inn on Delancey Street,
mhm,
at the bridge, at the Manhattan Bridge.
yeah.
If you walk from that hotel, uh, like 2 miles, you hear a number of different
Oh,
languages.
yeah. I mean,
And then if you go into what was it, Burger King,
yeah.
it's like the United Nations in there.
Yeah. Well, see, that's my point. You can go to places here in the Bay Area that
Mhm.
can be diverse, but in for the most part, my experience in California has been it's fairly segregated. And when you go to New
Yeah.
York, it's I mean, there are enclaves for the rich and the white, and and there's places where they go to segregate. But generally speaking, you're in it all the time, and you see everyone, and it's kind of
Mhm.
it's exciting from that diverse perspective.
Mhm.
Anyway, that
Well, that's happening all over the country.
yeah, yeah.
When I grew up in Buffalo, New York, I rarely saw a Puerto Rican a person. I don't remember seeing any. And now there's a growing population of Puerto Ricans in Buffalo.
Yeah.
So that's happening all over the country. And I took the one day I went from the Port Authority on 8th Avenue
Yeah.
to Paterson, New Jersey, college there, and I took the bus and I went to the small towns where you didn't see any black or white people.
Ah, yeah.
Small town, no blacks and whites on the street.
Yeah. Now here's something. Even though I think it's great how diverse it is in, in New York, there were moments when I would be on the street walking along, and this really happened. Some guy's riding his bike, and he looks at me, and it's like I'm on 34th Street around the United Nations, and someone yells at me and says, "Jackie Chan." To me,
Yeah, the media would say, well, he's been left behind, and he's been alienated, and that's why his head is full of racist stereotypes, is because the elites have neglected him. That's what the New York Times columnists will say.
that they've neglected Jackie Chan.
Well, I mean, they're still making excuses for the insurgency.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm
They're
just saying.
saying if it weren't for the elite attitudes of the progressives,
Yeah,
that never would have happened. So, I had that line in my play where the guy playing the Indian says, "Well, you ought to invite them for a beer or a game of darts." I
yeah.
mean,
Play
that's
darts.
that's
Yeah,
how that's how they coddle these guys.
yeah,
So, I mean, the guy that you had an encounter with, he's probably left behind, alienated, and the white, average white males are victims, and we're taking over the country and et cetera, blah blah, and all that. Like that debate last night. That's what I want to
Oh
talk
yeah.
about.
Well, I have to say that was
That,
one of the
that
things that
debate.
when I got an email from you, you said, "Hey, you were really all charged up about the debate." I wanted to talk to you about other things coming up, like the American Book Awards and diversity and all
Mhm.
that. But what was your impression about the debate? Because I'll just tell you, overall, I was not turned on either before, during, or after about the debate. I was not really as interested, and it's sort of like my thing to like pay attention to find out what's going on. So, tell me. I mean, I caught bits of it, but for me, I just thought if Donald Trump's not going to be there, it wasn't going to be much of a debate.
Well, I called the play a living newspaper,
Right,
and I kept changing the script to respond to events that were taking place in the news, right?
right.
So that's all we have. We have theater, And in that debate, it shows you the problem with blacks versus the media. We got talked about and signified on, but there was no black questioner.
Yeah. How about the Latina?
She did a great job for Latinos. I mean, she did a tremendous.
But she did
I
ask
mean,
that question about
she got
she had,
well. I
she
mean,
asked a question about
she got
slavery.
oh, you know, we needed a black questioner.
Yeah.
That's our position in the media. We get talked about and explained. So the other day they had a white guy on talking about this black novel he wrote all about black characters.
Mm.
Very, very seldom do I see a black novelist or poet on Morning Joe.
Yeah.
So what happens is we get interpreted, and people are authorities on us. And though we live the black experience or the Asian American experience,
yeah.
Other people get the money. They
Well,
profit from it.
Ishmael, do you really think it would have been different if, say, there was a Bernie Shaw or a Carol Simpson?
I don't care about those people. Let me tell you what they missed. First of all, they held it at the Reagan Library.
Yeah. All right.
Which is some kind of sacred place for these people, right?
Right.
Ronald Reagan called black people monkeys.
Mm.
And he cooperated with the Contras to dump crack into our communities. That happened right in this neighborhood. I saw the change overnight where, all these crack houses started popping up. We had to deal with the gunfire, but that was some kind of cynical, racist move on the part of the Reagan administration to get money for the Contras. And Reagan said he knew anything about it when Colonel North, the fall guy, said he knew all about it. So that was, and I first saw homeless people, and I wrote about it in 1982 in Terrible Twos, about homeless people appearing on the streets. Ronald Reagan had cut the housing subsidies by 70%. Now, when I grew up in Buffalo, the homeless people on Skid Row were usually white alcoholics. Same thing in New York. You had the Bowery, right? Yeah. So he did that. He's very damaging for Black Americans. But they, he's some kind of Satan. They had that really tasteless, gaudy airplane in the thing. I mean, they had the Air Force One. So it's so like a monument. He's sort of like a god. So for people who see that as a sacred place, I see it as a profane place. Now, let me tell you, the two immigrants, the two, not immigrants, but
people of
color, son and daughter of an immigrant, they were the white nationalists.
Oh, you're talking?
They were more white. I'm talking about Nikki Haley
and Vivek
and Ramaswamy. Yeah. I call them Swami.
Yeah.
Okay. They out-whited the white folks.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you, if I were a questioner, which is why I asked you to have me on.
Yeah.
Nobody asked Nikki Haley, did she still believe that the subway killer of that homeless person needed a pardon? Nobody asked that question. As a Black person, I'm really interested in her response to that question where she said that the guy should be pardoned. This guy sneaked up on this homeless person who was having an episode.
Right.
And chokeheld him until he died. And then he's claiming self-defense. He's claiming self-defense, Yeah. So nobody asked her that question. And he said she wanted to debate.
And this guy's a former veteran, was seen by some as a hero, but he's really a murderer.
Well, you know what? I wrote an article about how killing Black people is like a growth industry.
Yeah.
And this guy, this punk out there who killed those two aggressors, killed a Black person, he raised $1 million, $2 million, something like that.
Oh yeah.
And I think this guy broke the record. So if you want to, make some money real quick overnight, go out and kill a Black person.
All right.
I mean, that's a message.
Now, Ishmael, playing devil's advocate here somewhat, do you think that was as a significant question to ask of Nikki Haley? I mean, there were some other ones you could have asked. Why was that more significant about asking about the killing of this Michael Jackson? He was a Michael Jackson impersonator, but this white veteran who was accused. Why?
Well, not only they call him a veteran, but they say college student.
Oh yeah.
Media says he is a veteran and a college student.
Well, Ishmael, what do you think?
They always seem to identify with these vigilantes.
Well, what do you think it would have exposed?
Because as a Black person, I could have an me.
Yeah.
I could have some crazy person come up and I'm get excited or something, or I mean, as a black male who are at the bottom of the totem pole in the society, maybe Native American men are worse off. They're the ones who are more likely to get killed by the police.
Yeah.
Actually, according to statistics, it's Native American males who are most likely to die at the hands of police, like vigilantes with uniforms. But that was an important question to me, and
Yeah.
nobody asked it. And
Well, I have to admit, there were some questions like that I thought of too. Questions that are important to us aren't usually asked, and and even if they were asked, they probably wouldn't be answered. They
yeah,
dodge around them.
well, the question was not asked. Now let me get to Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
Oh, before I leave, Nikki Haley, who's like all American, change her name and like the whole bit, all American. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. She endorsed it. She said there was no problem with the Confederate flag.
Hmm.
She defended the Confederate flag until it became impossible to defend that rag, racist Nazi rag, when those 9 people were killed, murdered by this Nazi. And speaking of Nazis, I would have asked Ramaswamy, did he still believe that this Nazi who killed those 3 black people in that grocery store down in Florida
Hmm.
did it because of affirmative action? Now, I've not been able to locate his manifesto. I asked, you know, uh, journalism, my friend in journalism, Richard,
Oh yeah, Richard Prince.
Prince at journalism,
Yeah.
had he found the document. Remember, they said they're going to release the
Right.
manifesto this crazy Nazi left behind after he killed those black people. Because I wanted to see, did he do it because of affirmative action? That's Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
Nobody asked him that. He also said that Kendi, the scholar,
Yeah.
was equivalent to the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan. Ku Klux Klan.
The
The Ku Klux Klan bombed that church where those 4 kids got killed. Those 4 girls got killed, and they committed terrorism against black people for maybe a couple of hundred years, killing thousands of black people. And this idiot gets up there and says, "Well, they're just like the green." Yeah. And then
Yeah.
he, I mean, he's a Brahmin. I found that out. So I guess we're untouchables.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the thing
yeah.
you're not.
But
Yeah. Go ahead.
let me finish. And then he says that Juneteenth
Hmm.
should be eliminated. The holiday
Yeah.
June. He doesn't know the reason for Juneteenth. He doesn't know why slaves got to Texas in the first place. They violated the Mexican authorities by bringing slaves into Texas. That's because they were, I guess, really good-hearted and felt that some of these white thugs were just as good guys, like they always do. Believe Columbus is a good guy. Let's beat him and give him some women and stuff like that. But Stephen, the guy that came in there uh, with slaves, violated their agreement that he not bring slaves in there. Austin,
Yeah.
Austin, they named the city after him, Austin,
Right.
Texas.
Stephen Ross.
And so he subverted the Mexican government, and they wanted to start a guerrilla warfare, and tried under Polk, the president at the time, wanted to extend slavery to Mexico. So he doesn't know that.
Yeah.
This guy Swami. He's the guy who said that the National Rifle Association freed the slaves,
Right.
and Lemon corrected him, and he said, that the National Rifle Association wasn't founded until 1872. And for correcting this guy, Don Lemon got fired, and Swami took credit for his firing. So this is a real creep and a jerk.
Yeah.
And they didn't ask him those
Well,
questions.
you're not the only.
They're saying he's number 2. He might be vice president.
Well, you're not the only one to be disappointed or to be upset with Ramaswamy's performance. Also Nikki Haley's performance. I think all of them didn't. What was the one question you would like to have asked everyone? You would have liked everyone to have answered if you were on.
Tim Scott.
Yeah.
Tim Scott, a real cookie
Yeah.
cutter. I mean, this guy, I don't know where they get these guys. I think the far right must have
Well, wait,
Look,
Tim Scott's the nice guy. He's the nice African American guy
they,
who you
they
don't.
they didn't ask the right questions of him.
Yeah. Well,
Now
what would you have
I
asked?
mean, he can make this rah rah, like they should have had. Uh, I'll never walk alone in the soundtrack while he's making his speech. You know what I mean? And he's he says America is not a racist society. Okay, you can't quantify that, you know, but ask him specifics. Does he believe that blacks should be subjected to disproportionate traffic stops? Does he believe that blacks should be audited more by the IRS than whites? Does he believe that there should be disparities in healthcare? So, for example, according to a report that came out from one of the medical journals, black men die of prostate cancer disproportionately because they don't get the same treatment as white men. Okay,
Right.
black women, same result. See, and on down the line, mortgages. The Center for Responsible Lending says that browns and blacks get cheated by the mortgage companies and by criminal banks.
Yeah.
You know, we had not only did crack perpetrate a setback for Black Americans, but this subprime loan scam, where blacks who were capable or eligible for conventional loans were sold these junk or mortgages and loans. So prison reform, you know, in prison, there was a report on prison health, which shows that black women who have symptoms are ridiculed or neglected when it comes to treatment. So I mean, I got all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got all this data. Nobody asks him about the specifics, so he gets away with this glib. America's not a racist society, blah blah blah.
Well, I mean, he's sort of he tries to brand himself as I'm the nice black man. I'm the black man you don't have to cross the street to avoid. I'm the black man that everyone likes, and I'm even nice to Donald Trump. I mean that's kind of his brand.
But I'm just telling you what would happen if I had been there
Yeah.
asking questions.
Yeah.
He couldn't have got away with that. I would have brought him down to specifics.
Yeah.
And data.
All right, so we have the debate. It looks like nothing has really changed. I mean, that's the bottom line. Nothing has changed in terms of one person breaking out from the pack. The only one who really aggressively went after Trump, probably is Chris Christie, the former governor of New Jersey. And I don't know if we can afford to trust Chris Christie, who was right in Donald Trump's back pocket for those 4 years that Donald Trump was president. And now suddenly, I mean, is he the guy that the Republicans say, well, he's the guy who's going to be better than Trump? I don't know. As far as you're concerned, did anyone break through? Did anyone say, I'm going to challenge Trump?
They don't have the they don't have the smarts to or the wit or the showmanship of Trump. I was telling Carla this morning that he picked up some of the style of Jewish stand-up comedians.
Yeah.
In New York, he's got that down pat. That timing, and even the style of language and wit. And so you can't beat a showman. I mean, Ronald Reagan showed that.
Yeah.
I mean, the millionaires who backed him said, well, this is a great thing. There you got this failed movie actor, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's good at reading scripts. And so we hire him and we take him to different places, and he knows how to read a script well. That's how he got over. And he knew how to dress well because he was an actor, and he was an actor. And that seduced the population. They've been raised on show business and film and all this. But before him, there was what was his name? There was a tap dancer who paved the way.
George Murphy. Murphy.
Yeah.
California senator.
That's right. He was the antecedent of this kind of style, George Murphy, because he can dance.
But isn't the American public smarter than that, or should be, right?
Well,
You
I
should,
think they let their racism get in the way. They let the racism blind them. I wrote a piece for. I can't get my stuff published here. Counterpunch will publish stuff, and I can get my views up over in writing theater, writing plays. But I wrote a piece for El País.
mm.
I used
In
to have,
Spain.
yeah,
In
I used to have a, yeah, this is, El País is Spain's leading newspaper. I used to have a spot at Harass until I said, well, if we condemn black anti-Semites, we should also condemn Jewish racists, and that was the end of that. I mean, so they,
So
so and liberation in Paris and a number of places abroad. So I wrote a piece saying that the white women's vote. They rarely discuss that, right?
yeah,
Maybe some of the black sisters like Joy Reid will bring it up,
yeah.
but the white women voted for Trump twice.
You think a third time? You think they'll do it a
Oh,
third time?
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with the feminist movement,
Yeah.
but
Well,
it seems to me that since the 1970s, they've had a forum. They could have educated some of these women. As a matter of fact, I suggested that Gloria Steinem and them do a new version of the Freedom Ride,
yeah.
where
Oh,
instead of going down south like they did in the 60s to register black voters, they can go down south and educate some of these southern white women who vote the way their husbands vote. I mean, that's
yeah.
what they told me. We Tennessee and I had dinner with a couple of white professors, women down there. I think it was Alabama somewhere, and they
Mm.
said that they felt that the northern feminists treated them. They call them Yankees. Didn't treat them right, and they
The
didn't.
Maggies. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't understand that Yankees. They
Oh,
call them
Yankee.
Yankees. Yeah, and said they didn't know that white women in the South try to please their husbands and they vote like their husbands. So they've had since the 1970s. Instead of dumping on Clarence Thomas and the brothers and everything, they could have saved that energy and gone on down in the South and changed their mind. So if we have the overturn of Roe versus Wade, right? If we have these stringent things about abortion, white women apparently contributed to that by voting for Trump.
Right. Well, I'm surprised that you think the white women will continue on their Trump path, because I think the most significant thing this week was when Joe Biden went on the picket line and appealed to the working class.
Mm-hmm.
And then you saw Trump skip the debate yesterday and he went to a non union place to
Mm-hmm.
talk to union workers, which is kind of bizarre.
Well, I'll tell you
But
what. What do you say about Joe Biden? He knocked it out of. He did a home run today. That speech today was his best speech.
oh, I missed the one
Yeah,
today.
I mean that was the best speech, man. He took on Trump.
Yeah.
About
Well,
how this idiot who never served in the armed forces, called for the execution of the head
oh,
of the Joint Chiefs
General
of Staff.
Milley.
He brought all that up,
Yeah.
and maybe he will continue to make this election about the difference between autocracy and democracy. But he did it
Well,
today.
yeah, that's kind of the Biden's issue. It's more than age. It's more than the economy.
That is
Although
the issue. That's the
it's
issue.
yeah, it's the issue. Democracy. I agree with you, but I think that when Biden showed up at the picket line, it showed working
Absolutely.
class people
Absolutely.
that yeah, who's on whose side. I mean,
Yeah.
see what Trump did. He was not for the working class during his term, even though he said, and yet this is one of the great contradictions of the Trump election, that people voted against their own best interest to vote for Donald
Well,
Trump, and
because they want to be tribally white.
right, it
That's
had
why
to
they
be
vote.
a
That's why they
racial
vote
thing.
against. That's why they vote against. Look, Rachel Maddow. Rachel Maddow says, "What is the mystery is why so many people voted for Trump." So instead of going to Oxford, she should have gone to Howard University.
Yeah.
Or
Oh
she
yeah.
should have gone to Fisk or some black historian. Did she know why they
Oh
voted for her? And
yeah.
she went to Oxford, and she doesn't know why people voted for Trump. That's the one that everybody will understand. Want to understand why people voted for Trump.
Well, a lot of people have said that. I mean, from the very beginning, like they say MAGA is, make America white again. I mean, and yet the mainstream always tries to tamp that down. I mean, it's a very blunt assessment to say, oh, MAGA is really make America white again. It's a racist thing. But the
They want
mainstream
they
right,
want they want MAGA to buy their advertisers' products.
well, I guess. I mean,
Jad Ali was
mm,
on CNN until he mentioned. They said he mentioned white supremacy too much. CNN.
yeah. Well,
And I'm writing a piece about CNN in my play
yeah.
that I want to get published this weekend. Where remember they came out here
Hmm.
and they
Oh yeah. They came out here to
they
do the
shot,
reading.
yeah, your friend. They shot scenes from the reading and the
Yeah.
question and answer. And then they told us they couldn't use it. And this coincided with some guy named Malone, a Trump supporter, buying a piece of CNN. I don't know if you follow
Oh
that.
yeah, Malone, the big
Yeah,
cable guy,
yeah, right. He
big
bought,
cable man, John Malone. Yeah,
contributed to the inauguration, contributed to Trump's inaugural.
right.
So then, they told us they couldn't use it. And what they did, they sent Sarah Sider out here.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
there. Yeah,
Pelosi is right. I mean, they take a small section. What they do is they come out here, check into these 5-star hotels like the Fairmont,
mhm,
spend a whole lot of time at the bar, and they
right.
go to the same little section of San Francisco, and go back and it's just. As a matter of fact, Morning Joe the other day said San Francisco is full of madness and chaos. This
Well,
is
if you don't get out of the tenderloin,
this is a middle class town, man.
yeah.
You
I
go
mean,
there,
hey, believe me, if you don't get out of the tenderloin, you think that. Look,
yeah, right. Well, that's what they cover all the time
yeah, and
because
the
they got some
tenderloin,
black guys down there and involved in crime.
yeah, the tenderloin is bad,
Yeah,
and something needs to happen there.
but
But
the highlight of the show last night was Governor Newsom. Man, he knocked it out the ballpark, man.
yeah,
He took down
well,
a little silly conspiracy. I mean, there's more crime in Florida than in San
yeah.
Francisco, in Tennessee, and all these red states.
Actually, I was glad to see Newsom up there.
He
Um,
killed it. He
I
killed
didn't
it.
I didn't see the official response, but I saw him being interviewed on CNN
He killed
afterwards.
it. He
Yeah,
was on
look,
he was on MSNBC too.
I think he's being developed, right? Because
He's ready. You think
well,
wait till he debates DeSantis.
oh yeah,
You see
DeSantis,
what a low life intellectual DeSantis is.
yeah,
Banning books,
yeah. Look,
banning black books, the
yeah,
boogeyman.
oh yeah. I mean, look, I've known Gavin Newsom since his days as a supervisor. I mean, he's tackled all these problems. I think I don't know if he's quite ready, but look, it's impressive that California is the fifth largest economy in the world. I mean, who?
Biden needs somebody out there who will
Yeah,
swing an axe at these people.
yeah,
That's what he needs. He needs more people like that out
yeah,
there to take the flag, man. Because these are megas. The mongers, they're not playing, man. They say they're going to
yeah.
kill.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know
They say they want to execute.
what I find interesting though is where's
Head of the
Kamala
joint.
Harris? Where's
That's what
Kamala Harris there?
That's what they're scared of.
Yeah,
That's
they're
what this
they're
whole
scared.
they I mean, they're scared that Biden will die in office, and didn't. They will really see something because they haven't even gotten over Obama yet. I mean,
I know.
did you see how much Obama occupies Trump's head? He said he
No,
defeated Obama twice. You heard that?
right. I did hear that. Yeah.
He said he defeated Obama twice, and they're saying that Trump is old.
Well,
And he said we. He said we. He says we.
he
He said
misplaces his
that
modifier.
Belgium was a city.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
He saw a pissing boy statue somewhere. He wasn't sure where.
He said that we're getting ready to. Excuse me. He said we're getting ready to fight World War II.
Look, people better start thinking about the Republicans. Better start thinking about Trump's age because
And his
it's
mental
gonna affect the show.
health, because I know all this stuff's getting to him.
Right. Right.
I know he doesn't want to go to a Washington jail.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
He doesn't want to go.
He's in trouble. He's in trouble. Oh, look. Also, all that you got to figure all that low level radiation.
You can see some guy taking his breakfast.
Well, look,
Hey,
this is the
hey,
thing.
don't you realize I was the former president?
Do you know who I am? Do you know who I? Just to quote Lauren Boebert, there. Do you know who I am?
You know he doesn't want to go to a prison, a Washington. You know he doesn't want to go to Washington jail. And you got all these black prosecutors. Oh
He
God.
wouldn't be welcome there. But that's one of the things about it, Trump serving time. He would have to be. He would have to have Secret Service. Secret Service would have to be in orange. I don't know if they look good in orange, but they'd have to. Yeah.
Nobody would join the Secret Service anymore.
No.
So if you got 20 years, I mean,
Yeah.
something like that.
So Ishmael. So other things that I mean, we're watching the news. One more thing, a couple things in the news that are worth commenting, because today they started impeachment hearings against Biden, which is just ridiculous.
And half the Republicans didn't show up.
Yeah, I just think, and half the Republicans are critical.
They didn't even show up.
All right, so that's
You know?
that's one thing in the news floating.
And then their star witness turned on them.
Oh, who is their star witness?
Jonathan
Turley? Oh,
yeah.
well,
He turned on. He says you guys don't have a case.
Well, finally, some sense got knocked into Jonathan Turley. He's heading up and down here. All right, so the second news.
You know why doesn't anybody ask Jim Jordan why he asked for a pardon?
Why Jim Jordan did?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
after the insurrection, which he and the other guys engineered.
oh yeah. Well, I don't know, but all right. Look, the second story out there is that.
Would you trust him as a gym instructor?
Oh no.
Gym. Okay.
No. The second story that is out there, besides the impeachment, is the impending shutdown of the government. I mean, do you know how hard? Apparently, Russia can't do it, China can't do it, but if you have some mad right-wing Republicans, they can shut down the U.S. government. That's the lesson.
Well, why doesn't the media blame the white voters who voted these crackpots in?
Well,
for their president
yeah.
Congress? They can't do that because these people buy their advertisers' products.
Well, this is
so they can't eliminate them.
This is the beauty.
But I mean, who voted for Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Oh boy.
Why doesn't the media say, because they always interview these white folks? You notice after the debates,
Yeah.
you don't interview any of us, maybe one or two, but it's always going to some diner in the Midwest and just to show how abysmally ignorant these people are.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I don't know how she has rose in power after being pretty much neutered and kicked off committees, and then suddenly, boom! Now she's got all the power. She's got more power.
She's the power in Congress. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the power of Congress.
And it's anyway. All right. So those are upsetting stories that we can deal with later. Let's talk about a happy thing as we close out, and that is
I can't stay in business talking about happy things. Are you kidding? You kidding?
I know. I wanted.
How am I going to pay my mortgage?
I know, Ishmael, you always say this to me. I say, Ishmael, come on, meditate with me. And you say, I can't meditate. I gotta keep working. Come on, let's go off and ponder the serenity of life. And he said, no, I can't. I got to pay my mortgage. All right, yeah. But the happy thing is the Fort Columbus Foundation.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. 44 years of the American Book Awards.
Yeah.
This weekend on Sunday in San Francisco. Yeah, you must be 44 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time for the American Book
Well,
Awards.
we're still not accepted by the rigged awards system in this country, where you have people like Ralph Lauren on the board of directors of the National Book Foundation, which gives the National Book Awards. So I thought Ralph Lauren was in the clothing.
Yeah.
Business. And then you have a corporate award, two or three corporate awards who get all the publicity. Well, we did very well. We made 200 papers that I released this year. The Associated Press picked it up. The only papers that really don't cover us are the Chronicle and the East Bay News. Was that the East Bay? I'd subscribe to it.
Yeah.
But we don't get any local coverage.
The old Tribune.
Because we're not selling fentanyl.
Yeah.
You know? Now, if I was down there in Tenderloin selling fentanyl, I'd get coverage. But I mean, that's they're committed to a one-sided view of black life. So we don't get. We've been here for I don't know, maybe 3 decades in Oakland,
Mm,
maybe more. We
mm,
started out on 4th Street, and then we moved into Preservation Park. We've been there for since around 1989,
yeah.
and built up a reputation where we get covered all over the world. Time Magazine, all kinds of places. New York Times covers us.
Yeah.
They
Well,
cover Penn Oakland. We got Penn Oakland too, so, which is run by my daughter.
the American Book Awards, to me, it's not just because I won an award years ago in the year 2000, but it's always symbolized a uh, the importance of diversity in arts and letters.
But
And
we give awards to white people too, even established white
yeah,
writers. But the Washington Post said we were the National League. They use a baseball analogy. We're the National League as opposed to the American League, which I'm sure
ah,
upset the National Book Foundation because they got this beautiful office and
mm,
found, and we're out here in our little office. You can't even get in there. But
yeah,
that must have upset them because, so if you go to American Book Awards, you get National Book Awards. If you Google American Book Awards, you get National Book Awards. So they have sort of like a monopoly.
yeah,
But what they have, we have what they don't have. We have 2 Pulitzer Prize winners. We have 2 MacArthur Fellows. We have the 2 of the former United States Poet Laureates, and et cetera. We have Italian Americans like T.J. English, who just wrote Dangerous Rhythms about jazz and the crime of the mob
mm,
in New York City. So we have a rainbow, is correct, but we have literary clout, which is why Don DeLillo and Gloria Naylor and Edwidge Danticat and people like that travel to our awards at their own expense.
yeah. For people who aren't familiar, I mean, in the literary world, there is a national award, the National Book Award. But when you started the American Book Awards before Columbus Foundation, when it started the American Book Awards, what did you find that it had? What was the void that it had to fill? What was
Well,
it that? What was the mission?
well, it's a white award, National Book Award. They changed as a reaction to what we've done, what the Before Columbus Foundation has done. I was nominated for 2 National Book Awards in 1973. I think it was maybe 73. One in fiction and one in poetry. And then I was able to look at the list, and it had meant a white book award or books award until Ralph Ellison, he got one. And then Charles Johnson, 10 years after I was nominated, he got an award. But because we showed a different viewpoint about American literature, one that was nationwide instead of northeastern, they had to change, and they'd have to. The American literary establishment has changed even more. For you look at the Norton anthologies,
Hmm.
they leave out the West.
Yeah,
They leave out the West. Hispanics have been writing in the West since the 1600s. A Hispanic writer wrote the history of New Mexico about 1619. So they leave that out. So part of the Northern Anthology should be in Spanish, because the Spanish were the first European language in North America, but they leave that out and they concentrate in the Northeast as if they were still in the Puritan experience, where that experience, the
right.
Northeast thing. That establishment is gone because culture has been dispersed. So you can see Edward Albee's plays in Houston, or you got great art galleries in Houston and places like that, in San Francisco and other places. So they still have this Manhattan sort of like obsession. And as a matter of fact, one of our David Eggers, who got an award, he wanted them to put one of the seals on his books, and they were reluctant. He said, "Well, you got to do some Manhattan thing, man. This is a big country."
You got to be in Manhattan. Everyone's got to be in New York, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I mean that's no people. The creative artists can't afford to live there anymore. I
Right.
noticed that, and that began. The drain began in like the late '60s. After Carl and I left, 1967, the rent started increasing and it became difficult for people, for artists to live there, and they started going to places like New Jersey and other places, upstate.
Right. The Hudson.
Yeah, that's because of Giuliani and people like that. Giuliani
Yeah.
was anti-art. You remember he used to criticize museum pieces and all that.
Right. Well, so 44 years, you've accomplished the foothold and you've changed things. You've got to be pleased after 44 years, no?
Well, we had Gundar Strads, I think you can divide the before Columbus years in divisions. Gundar, the Strads years, where Gundar Strads held the organization together. He was executive director. He's still executive director. And then the Deman years, Justin Deman, who, despite a series of painful surgeries, which he's still undergoing, has kept the organization going. So I think those two should deserve the credit. And we have a distinguished board of directors. They contribute. I think that, and I see the problem is that because of my personality, uh, the the media believes that I make all the choices. That, stereotype that it's got to be me making the choices of who gets an award. No, we have a board of directors who make the choices, and I'm just one vote. And they nominate books that I've never heard of, but
Yeah.
are very important that I be introduced to them. I think I become a different writer because I came into connection with different cultures. For example, that play had you
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
We had people speaking Hindi, and we had Hindi actors and white actors, and I mean, it was all, and it had a different approach. The idea that whites are not the only racists in this country;
Yeah.
they just have the power. They have many times the assets of the rest of us. So, but they're in power for now. But that power is on the wane. I mean, I'm not saying all whites. I'm just saying the Anglo, the so-called, the, the people who dominate the country from the 1619, not 1619, since the arrival of Puritans on, that period where one group, ethnic group, dominates all the institutions in the United States, that's coming to an end. That's why they want an autocracy
Yeah.
to hold on. To hold on.
And so the 44th year, you're going strong. Tell me about, is there one book in particular among the award winners this year that has caught your attention that you want to give some kind of mention to?
Well, we're giving Bell Hooks an award,
Mhm.
the late Bell Hooks, because she was a dynamic intellectual, and her problem was that she challenged white feminist racism. So she was exiled to teach at a small college in Kentucky because she said that she would try to explain her situation as a black woman to white feminists, and they were so clueless that she'd run from the seminars in tears. So but she wrote some excellent books. So the late Bell Hooks, I knew her. She gets an award, and there are several. I'll send you the whole press release,
Mhm.
but there are a number of people who were worthy of getting the award. So the ceremony is at 2 o'clock on
Sunday.
Sunday
Yeah.
at the Court Library.
At the main library in San Francisco.
Yeah, and you are going to be you. So we had to get somebody great,
Ah,
performer, intellectual, and somebody who holds the attention of the crowd. You know,
yeah.
through this book ceremony. So we are we nominate. We got you. We got Emil going to be
I
the
think
moderator.
I volunteered. Hey,
But that's not the first one you did another one.
I've done a couple. Yeah. I always enjoy doing I did the one before COVID started,
Yeah,
2019, and then another one
yeah.
that was on C-SPAN years ago. One author that jumps to mind or comes to mind is she's winning the Lifetime Achievement Award. That's Maxine Hong Kingston.
Mhm.
And why now for Maxine?
Well, I like Maxine, and we're College University of California, Berkeley, and I think that's a excellent nomination. But I didn't make the nomination.
Yeah.
But I think Sean Wong was going to present the award to her.
I think he still is. I think he still is.
Is he still going to do it?
Yeah.
Because I heard that he was not. So that'd be great.
Yeah.
But I try to tell people that they should be statesmen, and that people should, there are more flack coming from the outside. So we really don't need these kind of internal. Which is going, they say I'm the one who started all this stuff. No, I didn't start the ethnic feminist masculinist, I guess, strike.
Yeah.
My position was that black men have been singled out by the feminist movement. And Amiri Baraka predicted that the white feminists, some of whom are racist, would scapegoat, black men for misogyny and spare the people who are capable of advancing their careers. I've noticed that, and so since I read a lot, and some of the people who criticize my position don't. Bell Hooks and Toni Morrison said the same thing, that black men have been singled out to take and so what you get is like strange things. I can tell you about one of these guys who was on the poster board and everything, and has been selected as a token. The way they treat our literature is like divas and devos, and everybody else, And so this guy's got great, outstanding stuff. He said he's so upset about my problems with Toni Morrison, and then he apologized. He said he meant Alice Walker. I have nothing against Alice Walker. He apologized. He said he got him mixed up. Next thing I know, he gets exposed as being some big misogynist who advanced on these women. I said, wow,
Yeah.
And he's not the only one. These guys from other ethnic groups all of a sudden sign on to be honorary black feminists like Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
So that was my thing about The Color Purple.
Yeah.
Which they're doing again. They're saying like, well, the author said, well, this guy's Ishmael Reed is stalking me and everything. We're being stalked by these guys who are producing that stuff. As a matter of fact, the late Paul Mooney said he expected a Color Purple on ice. I mean, they keep pushing that thing in our faces. And so here's Steven Spielberg again with the movie musical version of Color Purple, which you're doing this year.
Yep.
He treated his wife like crap. I went back into his divorce thing, man. I mean, he treated Amy Irving horribly.
Oh, I didn't go into those.
But then when he then when he read The Color Purple, he said, all I could think about was rescuing Celie, the victim. All I could think about was rescuing her. So I wrote a piece for a Jewish magazine called The Tablet.
Yeah.
I said, what would happen if he did a Jewish Color Purple? Who would play Celie in the Jewish Color Purple? Because I read in the magazine that Jewish actresses were complaining that Jewish producers were giving all their roles to Goyim women, right? Well, you know how the producers replied. He said, we don't want our wives and women playing those roles. So I said, they would probably get Nicole Kidman.
A good wasp.
I said, yeah, get her to play Celie in the Jewish Color Purple, right? Boy, I'm telling you. So that was my thing about the movie. She didn't like it either.
Yeah. Well, I just know that
Alice Walker said the movie was not based on her book. I read that.
Not even loosely based. I mean, to use the term.
She said she was upset. She said it was not based on her book. That's what those guys do, man. Bell Hooks, they take these black boogeyman projects, make the guy even worse where they adapt them,
Yeah.
So I mean, that was my thing. I mean, and see, I have enough independence and so my career is not ruined by that, because they I got boycotted by these white feminists down in Baton Rouge because I said on the Today Show that I didn't like the Color Purple movie. Boy, why did I say that? So they had a boycott against me My appearance at Baton Rouge. You know why it collapsed? They hadn't read my books.
Yeah, that's
The boycotters hadn't read any of my books.
see, that's what usually happens. They read what I mean. They make a knee jerk reaction, then they read,
They go by rumor. They don't read. They go by rumor.
and then they. Well, that's a shame. But look, despite all that, the American Book Awards has lasted. It survived. It keeps going. It's going strong. You've got a new set of awards going out this Sunday. I'm pleased to be part of that. And
Well, we got Penn Oakland too. Don't forget about Penn Oakland.
oh, Penn Oakland, yeah.
The awards begin on December 2nd.
Oh, yeah, Penn Oakland.
At the Rockridge Library in Oakland, and the New York Times calls the Penn Oakland the blue collar pen. That's because you don't have to wear a tuxedo to get one.
Mm-hmm.
Pen thing and the Penn Faulkner.
Yeah, yeah.
You know the Penn Faulkner?
The what now?
Penn Faulkner.
Oh, the Penn Faulkner,
Washington,
yeah.
D.C.
Is that,
Yeah, you know what Faulkner said?
what did he say?
He said if it came between Mississippi and black people, he had to go out and shoot black folks.
Hey, wait a minute now.
And James Baldwin had this real polite, James, he had a little polite reply, but that's what Faulkner said. He said
The Penn
between him.
the Penn Faulkner, the Penn Faulkner Award.
If it came between black people, if it came between black people in Mississippi, he had to go out there and kill those Negroes.
The Penn Faulkner, they're still going, huh? The Penn Faulkner Awards.
Yeah, they got a lot of money, man. I went to one of those things.
Yeah.
And man, the whole NPR establishment.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
They all turned out. And
I imagine, yeah.
senators, and distinguished people and donors, all of them turn out.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm going to be there at the 44th American Book Awards at the San Francisco Main Library, the Corrette Auditorium there, 2 p.m. Sunday. Ishmael, listen, anytime you want to come on and talk about stuff, you just have to email me and say, hey, I got something on my.
Well, I wanted to pretend that I was at that thing last night, that fiasco.
Yeah.
And that I was asking questions.
Ah.
And so these, I presented to you some of the questions that I would have asked. Nikki Haley would not have escaped. Ramaswamy, Swamy, I call him for short, would not have escaped. Tim Scott, a lot of those people. Now, what's his name? Asa Hutchins.
Yeah, he's not.
He dropped out.
Yeah.
And he said the real problem is a snatch and grab in the city.
He said that?
No, yeah. I said, well, excuse me. The Sackler family killed the white people.
Sacklers.
Sacklers almost exterminated white people in this country.
The Sacklers make the mark.
They're not going to see a day in jail like these people selling fentanyl. You think they're going to see a day in jail?
The Sackler family makes the Marcos family look like angels.
Listen, the longevity rates of white people decline because of the Sackler family, man. And they're not going to go to jail.
Look at what they've done to the white race. They've diminished.
Well, I mean,
killed them all.
That's what they did with these opioids.
I mean,
and the only person who covered that was what's his name, Senator Gore.
Yeah.
You remember he had this network?
Oh yeah.
He had a network. What's the name of that thing?
Oh yeah. The
where they did a story on opioid addiction in Boston. And he said hundreds of white kids died. And the undertaker said his son died. And he was the only one to cover that because, they're soft on white crime, they're soft on white pathology, right?
Yeah.
The media is soft on white crime,
Yeah, I forgot that Gore had a network. His network, his cable network. Yeah.
Yeah, and he sold it or something.
Yeah.
And then Jonathan Capehart. Now this is the kind of guy they have. They have black pundits.
Right. MSNBC.
But they better not get out of hand because they get the Don Edwards treatment. Don Lemon treatment. Get out of hand. You better watch what you say.
I know. Don Edwards confusing him with the white Congress.
Melissa Harris Perry.
Oh, Melissa
Harris. Cross. All those people. Now you gal. What'd you say today?
Yeah. I remember her. Yeah.
Security, get your things. Security, right?
Yeah, I remember getting that treatment. They called security on me, and I was resigning. I wasn't being fired. I was resigning, and we better call security. He's resigning.
Yeah. So they had to watch what they say. So John in the Cape part said, I didn't know that the average crack addict was white. That's been known since 1996. I got those clippings.
So,
So that's the kind of people they have,
uh,
and they have Reverend Sharpton.
yeah, yeah.
He's a dynamic, charismatic leader, but he's got another job, so he doesn't have time. He doesn't. I don't think they supply him with a research staff like Joy Reid gets,
Yeah.
and like Rachel Maddow gets. So Ramaswamy wiped up the floor with him. He said, "Now I'm going to debate this Ramaswamy."
Yeah.
Ramaswamy had him for lunch, man. He wiped because the guy was not informed. See?
Yeah.
So those are the kind of people. So we have to find some other way, like your, podcast here. Social media. They hate social media, but I've learned a lot about Native American, Asian, all this
Yeah.
on more in social media than I get in the corporate media.
Yeah, it's a do-it-yourself media. I mean, everything's do-it-yourself now, and unfortunately, the old days of broadcasting, mass media,
Yeah.
it's gone. I mean, I was fortunate that I got in on the tail end of that locally, at least. But now,
But you're doing better. You're doing better with your podcast, man.
well, I hope.
No, you don't have any advertisers. That's what you remember what Dan Rather said.
What do you say?
He said the advertisers dictate the news.
Their money.
Is there money?
I did. Did you notice that?
You know what I said. You didn't see my Facebook thing, did you?
Well,
They had these. They were talking about what do you call this thing? Cash and grab.
yes.
This crop. What do you call that thing? Cash and grab and stash and whatever.
I mean the smash and grab.
Yeah.
Smash and grab.
Yeah, smash and grab.
Yeah.
I said now the way that smash and grab guys can prohibit or prevent the media from covering their crimes is to do what the big criminals do, like Big Pharma, the fossil fuels, all liars, the criminal banks, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, all of it, by advertising.
Advertise.
By advertising on the networks.
Yeah.
And they will not cover the smash and grab stuff.
You notice?
They gotta be like Big Pharma, which lied, the fossil fuels industry, which lied about climate change and all that, made $9 billion in profits and everything. They should buy advertising like they do, and then their crimes will be covered.
Did you notice last night on the debate, after the TikTok question, they broke for commercial, and whose commercial do they run? A TikTok commercial.
Oh, I mean, that's ironic. Capitalists don't care.
I mean, that's it. And
but capitalism gonna start selling woke cars.
Yeah, and do you?
They're gonna start selling woke fashions.
Woke fashions.
Yeah. Right?
Hey,
watch. I mean, it's inevitable.
Yeah, and did you?
That there's gonna be a woke run on woke products.
And did you notice also on Fox one of the commercials I saw? It was this guy praying, and apparently there's an app for prayer. There's a prayer app, and so there was an ad for that. And then Jesus advertises. Did you know that?
Hey, listen.
Jesus is advertising now.
I was in the old city, in Jerusalem, and we walked up that path where Jesus supposedly, I forgot the name of it, Bill O'Reilly. Yeah. So we walk up there to where Jesus was executed, the most commercial district in the world. Everywhere you go, shop, people handing you stuff, selling stuff. It's like the most commercially dense path in the world.
It's money.
People try to sell me like a conch horn. I mean, not one of those. Like you call those things.
Yeah, like a
a
goat.
Yeah,
thing.
all that, and clothes, and everybody grabbing on you, man.
Capitalism. Capitalism. I tell you, I was surprised. If you've seen them, if you watch television, there's like Jesus is advertising on TV.
Absolutely. Well, they've been making money off Jesus for centuries. Look at the Catholic Church. I was the one who said that. I write in my new book, which nobody buys. I only sold, how many copies I sold? Now, I've been writing this thing called the Terrible series. Start out with the Terrible Twos,
Yeah.
the Terrible Threes, the Terrible Fours. Now I'm doing the Terrible Fives, where I mentioned that in the 1970s or something, somebody asked me about the Exorcist, because I'm kind of like a prophet, you know.
Yeah.
People notice that.
Yeah.
And I said, the real exorcism should be performed in the Catholic Church because they're full of the devil. And, you know, about 10 years later, the first child abuse scandal broke. So I kind of predicted that.
There it is. Psychic.
I predicted the how the Soviet Union dissolved, named the city where the rebellion would begin. And I got printed in a, what do you call it, Samostat magazine in Czechoslovakia for calling that. And then I wrote a part of the Terribles where I said that there was a continent under Haiti, right, or some land under some, and they found the continent.
A convent. Like
A continent.
a convent. Oh, that makes more sense. A convent, I would.
They found a continent
A continent. Yeah.
under Haiti,
Wow.
and I had the continent there in my novel. And so in my Terrible Fives, Terrible Threes, which I had a black pope who gets married to a movie star or a TV star. Oh, Lord have mercy. Then I read that, what do you call it? The guy that, what's his name? The guy that predicted things. He
Nostradamus.
said that, he said that there will be a black pope
Mhm.
before the apocalypse. Now, how would you explain what's happening now? Aren't we in like the beginning of the apocalypse with the planet warming up and everything?
At least the preamble. Yes.
So I sit in my house and I write these things, and I'm not in New York, so I don't have to get into token wars and all that.
Right.
You know, like I had that scene where the two painters got into killed each other over who's going to get a show.
Yeah.
One guy kills the other painter because he had a show or something like that.
So Ishmael, we'll have to make this a regular thing. Will you come on?
That'd be great. That'd be great because I like, you know, my thing is the media, man.
So
I mean, I put stuff on Facebook that I notice. I put stuff on every day that I notice how they're so full of it. You know.
we'll have to call it Wednesday.
Did you see the thing today where in Baton Rouge, these cops had a sort of like house out someplace?
Oh
where
yeah,
they tortured
they had it. Yeah,
and did sexual stuff with them. I mean, now what's that all about?
they put him in a warehouse, and I guess it was to shake him down or to.
They and there was sex. This is the second case where the cops used sexual instruments on these people and everything. But last night they said the cops was wonderful and great, and you know, on that Republican show.
You know, the Republicans are no longer able to claim law and order.
Yeah, because you got a guy with 5 felons.
Yeah. Well, there's
90.
91. Yeah, 91. 91 counts. Like four indictments.
Well, I tell you what, I met Letitia James in Brooklyn. We posed a picture. I said, man, you don't mess with this woman.
Yeah.
Letitia James.
All right. So Letitia James goes up against Fannie Willis. Who wins?
I think Letitia.
All right.
He's got to sit down Monday. She got him to sit down and testify on Monday. He's going to take the 5th.
Yeah.
How did Ivanka get out? How did Ivanka get out of this?
Better lawyer, I guess. I don't know.
Better lawyer.
Yeah, I'm not going with a Trump attorney.
You mean better than Eastman and all of them?
I don't know. Know that.
What about Sidney Powell, boy?
Oh, Sidney Powell.
Happy birthday, Sidney.
Yeah. So Ishmael, I'm going to see you on Sunday. We're gonna make this a regular
Hey, listen,
thing.
I hope I haven't said anything that caused you to lose your show.
Oh, what's I'm no, nothing. No.
I mean, if you were at NPR, they said no. You heard the show you just did.
Oh yeah, look.
You like working. You like working here, don't you?
If I was working for somebody, it would be over. But yeah, I remember this.
Isn't that the NPR treatment when they call you in and say, "No, Emil, you happy here?"
No, it was worse than that. It was Emil. We want to save your career. That's what they say. And it was a black attorney.
Oh yeah, of course.
Man, we want to save
But you
your career.
can't say racism because you got to. Well, I mean, what about him? He's black. Tim
I
Scott.
swear that's the way it went
Tim
down,
Scott should
man.
show up in overalls and American flag printed overalls. But
That's the way it went down. All
yeah,
right, so we're gonna make it a regular Wednesday
sure,
with
absolutely.
Ishmael.
Well, I'll
Wednesday or
be up
Thursday
there
with Ishmael.
every other week.
If not Wednesday, then Thursday. If not Thursday, then Wednesday. But
Okay, it sounds good,
we'll stick
man.
you in the middle of the week.
It sounds
Hump day with Ishmael.
sounds good, man. And thanks for all the stuff you're doing for us. And we'll see you Sunday.
All right, there he is. Ishmael Reed, American Book Awards, Corrette Auditorium, Main Library, San Francisco, October 1st, Sunday, 2 o'clock. And it's free, right?
Yeah.
It's free.
Yep.
It's free. Come read all the book, or come learn about all the books you need to read to understand a diverse America. Ishmael,
Okay.
thank you very much, man.
Okay. Take care
My,
now.
my, my buddy, my teacher, Ishmael Reed. There he goes. You know, Ishmael, how do you say no to Ishmael? He says, I got some questions I want to ask the debate folks, and I'm going to get on your show. So that's why we do it. And we'll make it regular. And he surprised me. He said he came back from New York before I did, and he said he just got over, the whole trip. But I came back on the 20th, and I've been sick. I have not done my gong closet show for about a month. I miss it. I've been doing things out on the street with Instagram and whatnot. But this is where I belong in the micro talk show field with you. Anyway, Emil Guillermo here. A catch on my column on the ALDEF blog, aaldef.org/blog. I write about the Marcoses. They've given some money to fund Harvard's Tagalog classes, and it's not in pesos. It's $1 million, $2 million, 50 pesos to $1. It's a lot of money. Should Harvard give the money back? All right, so go to the ALDEF blog for that, and also go to the ALDEF blog to see what's going on with how I feel about Here Lies Love, the Marcos musical. I wrote about it earlier, and I said I was going to come back and talk about it. I saw it. I give you the honest to God truth. It certainly brought me back to I was in Manila in 1983 when Benigno Aquino's casket during the procession to the funeral. That whole ceremony, that whole scene, a million people on the street. I was in Manila on the streets. And when they replicated that scene at the musical, I write about it also on the ALDEF blog, aaldef.org/blog. All right, that's it. Hey, for a first show, it's not so bad coming back. Tomorrow on Friday, you can watch the replays of this on amok.com. Also on YouTube. This is on YouTube on the Emil Amok Guillermo channel. Also on Twitter. You can catch it on Twitter at Emil Amok. Tomorrow on Friday, I talk, since we're going on a regular basis now, Professor Dan Gonzalez will join me. And we're going to talk about something special coming up, Filipino History 101. I know it's the class you wanted to take, right? Well, you can take it in a special webinar. It's been given by the Filipino American National Historical Society on October 8th, 7th and 8th, but the one that I'm doing is on the 8th. So catch it. And tomorrow I'll be talking with Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez about it. And you'll like it. I think you will. All right, all that's coming up. All right, that's it. Thank you for hanging out with us on Thursday. I mean that. I had a good time in New York, but it was time to come home. And I, as much as I like New York, man, it's just, you're in a competition all the time. I know it sounds trite if I said rat race, right? Although I did see some dead rats along, my path. I did see a few of those. But there is a kind of feeling of that. But it's also a feeling that there's something alive in New York. And maybe we'll talk more about that in the days ahead. All right. We end our show with a little meditation. Have to. Meditation. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time. Mahal Kita. Oh, look that up in your Tagalog dictionary.